The dusty streets of Millbrook stretched under the scorching Arizona sun as Sheriff Tom Bradley adjusted his worn leather belt, watching the strange man who'd been causing trouble for 3 days straight. Samuel Creek stood outside Murphy's saloon, his weathered face marked by years of desert wind and his clothes bearing the dust of countless miles. "I'm telling you, Sheriff, this whole town's sitting on borrowed time," Creek said, his voice carrying the authority of someone who'd seen too much. "Those mine shafts running under Main Street, they're compromising the foundation of every building." "Here," Bradley spat into the dirt, his patience wearing thin. "Listen here, Drifter. I've had enough of your doomsday talk scaring my townspeople. Old Pete's been mining under this town for 15 years without a single problem. 15 years of taking out support beams and not replacing them properly." Creek countered, pulling a crumpled piece of paper from his coat. "I used to work the mines in Colorado. I know what I'm looking at." Dr. Margaret Hayes emerged from her clinic, her medical bag in hand. "Sheriff, perhaps we should listen to what Mr. Creek has to say. Some of the buildings have been showing cracks lately. Doc, with respect, stick to healing people and leave town safety to me," Bradley interrupted, his hand resting on his gun. "Creek, you've got 1 hour to pack your things and get out of Millbrook. I don't want to see your face here again." Creek's eyes narrowed as he surveyed the bustling town square. Children played near the general store while women hung laundry outside their homes. The bank's imposing brick structure cast a long shadow over the wooden sidewalk where merchants peddled their wares. "Those families deserve to know the truth," Creek said quietly. "The vibrations from the blasting, the way the ground settles after each explosion, it's all connected. I've seen towns like this before." "Where exactly?" Bradley demanded, stepping closer. "Silverado, Colorado. Lost 43 people when the main street collapsed into the old mine shafts. The signs were all there, just like here." Pete Morrison, the mine owner, approached with several of his workers. His expensive suit contrasted sharply with the rough clothing of the miners following him. "Sheriff, is this vagrant still spreading his lies about our operation?" "Just handling it, Pete," Bradley assured him. "He'll be gone within the hour." Creek shook his head slowly. "You're making a mistake, Sheriff. Those support timbers Pete's using, they're not rated for the weight of these buildings. The constant blasting has weakened the limestone foundation. It's not a matter of if, it's when." "Enough." Bradley drew his gun, though he didn't aim it. "I said 1 hour. Don't make me use force." As Creek gathered his meager belongings from the boarding house, Martha Fleming, the schoolteacher, approached him quietly. "Mr. Creek, my classroom's been showing new cracks every week." The children noticed them too. "How many children?" Creek asked urgently. 23 in my class, but there are more throughout the town." Creek's face grew grim. "Ma'am, if what I suspect is true, you need to get those children out of that building, tonight." But the sheriff said, "The sheriff's more concerned with keeping Pete Morrison happy than keeping this town safe," Creek said, adjusting his worn leather satchel. "Morrison's been cutting corners on safety for months. Those mine shafts run directly under the school, the bank, and half the residences on Main Street." As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the town, Creek mounted his horse at the edge of Millbrook. He turned back one last time, watching the lamplights flickering to life in windows throughout the settlement. The sound of laughter and conversation drifted on the evening breeze. "God help them all," he whispered Dot at precisely 9:30 p.m. as families settled in for the night. A deep rumble echoed from beneath the town. Creek, now 5 miles away, heard it too and urged his horse to a gallop, racing toward the distant lights of Millbrook as the ground beneath the town began its fatal surrender. The first building to fall was Henderson's hardware store. The crash thundered through the night like a cannon blast, shaking windows throughout Millbrook and sending dogs howling into the darkness. Sheriff Bradley bolted upright in his bed, his heart pounding as he grabbed his clothes. "Mary, did you hear that?" He called to his wife, but she was already at the window, her face pale in the moonlight. "Tom, look at Main Street," where Henderson's two-story building had stood for over a decade. Now only a pile of splintered wood and twisted metal remained, swallowed partially by a gaping hole in the ground. Bradley could see straight down into the abandoned mine shaft below, its darkness seeming to swallow the lamplight. "Get dressed and stay inside," Bradley ordered, strapping on his gun belt. "I'm going to check on the Hendersons." As he ran toward the disaster, Dr. Hayes was already there, her medical bag in hand. "Tom, thank God. Old man Henderson was working late in the store. I can hear him calling from down there." Bradley peered into the hole, calling out, "Henderson, can you hear me?" A weak voice responded from the depths. "Sheriff, my legs pinned under some beams. The whole floor just gave way beneath me. We're going to get you out." Bradley shouted back, then turned to the gathering crowd. "I need rope. Lots of it. And lanterns." Martha Fleming pushed through the crowd, her face etched with worry. "Sheriff, that man Creek, he warned us this would happen. He said the mine shafts weren't properly supported." Before Bradley could respond, another ominous creaking sound filled the air. The crowd turned toward Murphy's saloon, watching in horror as the building's front wall began to bow outward. "Everyone back!" Dr. Hayes screamed. The saloon collapsed with a thunderous roar, its second floor pancaking into the first before both levels disappeared into another mine shaft opening. Dust and debris exploded outward, coating everyone in a gray cloud that burned their eyes and lungs. "My God," whispered Pete Morrison, who had arrived still in his nightclothes. "This can't be happening." "Pete, how many mine shafts run under?" "The town?" Bradley demanded, grabbing the man by his shirt. "I don't know exactly. We've been mining here for 15 years. There are dozens of tunnels." Martha grabbed Bradley's arm. "The school. If these shafts run under the school, we need to evacuate it immediately. The children will be there in the morning." Another rumble shook the ground, and the general store's front windows exploded outward. The building sagged but didn't collapse entirely, hanging precariously over the growing sinkhole beneath it. "Doc, take 5 men and start organizing an evacuation of the residential area," Bradley ordered. "Pete, I need the mine maps now." "They're in my office at the mine," Morrison stammered. "Then let's go get them." As they raced toward the mine entrance on the outskirts of town, Bradley's mind raced with Creek's warnings. The stranger had mentioned Silverado, Colorado, 43 people dead. The memory of Creek's weathered face and urgent warnings now haunted him. At the mine office, Morrison fumbled with his keys while behind them, another crash echoed through the night. The bank's distinctive brick chimney was visible against the starlit sky, tilting at an impossible angle. "Here," Morrison pulled out a large rolled map. "These are all the tunnels we've dug." Bradley spread the map on Morrison's desk, his heart sinking as he saw the extent of the underground network. Dozens of tunnels crisscrossed beneath the town like a spider's web, many running directly under the main buildings. "Pete, where are the support timbers in these tunnels?" Morrison's silence was answer enough. "Damn it, Pete. You've been removing them to save money, haven't you?" "The limestone seemed stable," Bradley exploded. "You've turned the whole town into a death trap." Another distant crash interrupted them. Through the office window, they could see that the bank had completely collapsed, its proud brick facade now nothing but rubble in a crater. Bradley folded the map and stuffed it in his coat. "We need to find Creek. He's the only one who might know how to predict where the next collapse will happen." "But you banished him." "Then I'll have to swallow my pride and bring him back, because right now he's the only hope this town has." As they mounted their horses to search for the drifter, the sound of screaming women and crying children echoed through the night air. Millbrook was dying, one building at a time, and Sheriff Tom Bradley knew he had to find Samuel Creek before dawn, or watch his entire town disappear into the earth. Bradley and Morrison rode hard through the desert night, following the trail Creek had taken hours earlier. The distant glow of fires burning in Millbrook's ruins cast an orange light against the horizon, while behind them, the sounds of destruction continued to echo across the valley. There! Morrison pointed ahead. I see a campfire. Creek was sitting beside a small fire, his horse grazing nearby. He looked up as they approached, his expression grim but unsurprised. Come back to finish. What you started, Sheriff? Creek asked, not standing. Bradley dismounted quickly. Creek, I was wrong, dead wrong. The town's collapsing just like you said it would. I need your help. How many dead? We don't know yet. Henderson's trapped under his store, but we've gotten most people out of the buildings. The bank, the saloon, and the general store are gone. Creek stood slowly, brushing dust from his pants. And tomorrow morning, when the school bell rings? That's why I'm here, Bradley said, his voice tight. 23 children, Creek. I can't let them die because of my stubbornness. Creek studied the sheriff's face in the firelight. You have the mine maps? Bradley pulled out Morrison's map. Pete here finally admitted he's been removing support timbers to save money. Mr. Morrison, Creek said, his voice dangerously quiet, do you understand what 15 years of uncontrolled mining has done to your town's foundation? Morrison couldn't meet his eyes. I thought the limestone was strong enough. Limestone is porous. Every blast, every vibration sends cracks deeper into the rock. Those support timbers weren't just holding up tunnel ceilings, they were supporting the entire town. Creek examined the map by firelight, his finger tracing the network of tunnels. This is worse than I thought. The mining extends under almost every major building. Can you predict where the next collapses will happen? Bradley asked urgently. Look here. Creek pointed to an area on the map. This section has the most tunnel density and the least support. The school sits right above the main junction where 5 tunnels meet. It'll be one of the next to go. Bradley's face went pale. When? Hard to say exactly. But with the stress from tonight's collapses, probably within hours, maybe less. They mounted their horses and rode back toward town, the glow growing brighter as they approached. Dr. Hayes met them at the town's edge, her dress torn and covered in dust. Tom, thank God you're back. We've set up a medical station at the church. Henderson's alive, we got him out, but his leg's badly broken. 3 more buildings have collapsed since you left. What about evacuation? Bradley asked. We've moved everyone to the far end of town, away from the main collapse area. But people are scared and confused. Some are talking about leaving Millbrook. Entirely, Creek interrupted. Doctor, is anyone still in the buildings near the school? The Jacobson family refused to leave their home. They live 2 blocks from the school, and Mrs. Jacobson is bedridden with consumption. We need to get them out now, Creek said firmly. That whole area is going to collapse before morning. As they organized the final evacuation, Martha Fleming approached them. Mr. Creek, I owe you an apology. If I'd listened to you earlier. Ma'am, there's no time for apologies now. Help me gather some lanterns and rope. We need to check the school's foundation before dawn. Working by lantern light, Creek and Bradley crawled under the schoolhouse, examining the wooden posts and stone foundation. What they found confirmed Creek's worst fears. Sheriff, look at this. Creek's voice was muffled from beneath the building. These foundation stones are cracked clean through. The weight of the building is resting on compromised rock above the mine tunnels. How long do we have? Listen. From beneath the ground came a subtle creaking sound, like a ship's timbers in a storm. The sound grew gradually louder. We need to evacuate the entire area. Now, Creek said as they crawled out. Bradley stood and cupped his hands around his mouth. Everyone away from the school area. Move toward the church, now. As the last of the residents moved to safety, the first rays of dawn painted the eastern Sky orange and pink. The schoolhouse stood silhouetted against the morning light, its bell tower reaching toward the clouds. Then, with a sound like thunder, the earth opened up, and Millbrook School disappeared into the darkness below, taking with it the last of Sheriff Bradley's doubts about the stranger he had banished. Creek stood beside him, watching the dust settle. 43 people died in Silverado because no one would listen. Today, because you swallowed your pride and came after me, everyone in Millbrook goes home alive. Bradley looked at the ruins of his town, then at the families huddled near the Ainty Church. Creek, would you consider staying? This town's going to need rebuilding, and it's going to need someone who understands how to do it right. Creek smiled for the first time since arriving in Millbrook. Sheriff, I thought you'd never ask.